Time for the 49ers Rush Podcast. And here's your host, John Chapman.
What is going on, faithful? It is absolutely incredible to be with you guys. It's Thursday, which means it's time for the coach approach, which means we're going to be talking some offensive line at some point. Ant, my man, how we doing today?
Yeah, doing well. And it's interesting because you say offensive line, and the 49ers decided that they were going to put an offensive lineman that we were kind of hoping was going to be able to help this football team on IR, ending his season. So it is definitely a weird time, offensive line, defensive line wise in San Francisco. And I think we're just going to have to try to wait and see what happens. But hey, Spencer Burford, I think this is getting thrust on Spencer Burford. He's going to have to make something happen this year.
Yeah, it's, so already just a couple real quick roster moves I want to put out there. The 49ers have added defensive end Damon Harris. He's not a pass rusher, 0 sacks and 6 seasons, run stuff in defensive end. Another defensive end, William Bradley King. Again, another run stuffing defensive end, wide receiver Malik Turner. They have placed on IR Andre Dillard. Michael Dunfor has been waived, and Bradley Anai has been released. So 3 in, 3 out. And, man, here's the thing. The 49ers went after DJ Humphries, but we're on the cheap end. He walked away. He left. They gave him an offer, but it wasn't enough. He goes and signs with a division opponent. They decide to go cheap. That's the entire MO of this offseason, younger, cheaper. They bring in Andre Dillard, who is rehabbing an ankle, a foot. I think it's an ankle. It might be a lower leg issue. They wait. Doesn't practice all of OTA's minicamp. Misses the first 3 weeks of training camp. They finally say, dude, you got to get out there now or never. Gets out there, goes through one practice, right back to IR. Body just didn't respond to it. He was kind of the swing tackle, like in reserve. And now the 49ers are stuck with the current roster. Spencer Burford at the left tackle. Austin Pleasant at the right tackle. Ant, how confident do you feel? The 49ers don't have a swing tackle. They don't do that. They're one of the few teams in the NFL. You don't play left and right tackle. You play one spot and one spot only. How do you feel, especially after that preseason game against the Broncos? Neither one of them looked good.
Yeah, I'm nervous, about this. I do think Spencer Burford has the most upside of the two guys we're talking about. I don't really like Austin Pleasant's feet. I think they're very clunky. He doesn't look hyper athletic. So he's always been somebody that I've kind of seen as a right tackle, but really I don't see him as a roster guy. I don't think he's a 53-man roster guy, which means you've got to upgrade the position somehow. Now, maybe somebody's going to get waived or released that you could bring in once the 53-man rosters get cut down, and maybe that's what they're going to look for. But I am nervous about the backup offensive tackle spot, especially because it's backing up Trent Williams, who, as much as we love Trent, he's like George Kittle. He's going to miss at least 2 games every single season with something that flares up, usually an ankle. And that's not a good situation if you've got to make sure you're game planning to protect Spencer Burford, who is hyper athletic, is a good offensive lineman, but is not exactly the best when it comes to playing in space. That's one of the reasons out of UTSA I loved him moving inside. Playing offensive guard where there's less space for an interior defensive lineman to go, but also they're less athletic. Minus a guy like, Aaron Donald, who can move laterally, or Chris Jones, who are crazy athletes. Most of the guys don't move good laterally. That allows Spencer Burford to win. Get on the outside, more space, more struggles. So that's going to be my biggest thing to watch for Spencer Burford over the next couple weeks and see how he's developing to operating in space. There were some good things. There was some bad things. And I was hoping Andre Dillard was going to kind of make this offensive line a little bit more comfortable, adding another veteran backup that we could count on.
Yeah, now, and I've gotten a lot of Isaiah Prince questions. I didn't think that he played very well either, and he was playing against the 3s and 4s. I didn't see the Isaiah Prince as like a viable option. I think he's a depth piece. He's a little bit more, he's way more athletic. I actually like him more at right tackle than Austin Pleasant. I don't think Austin Pleasant's scheme fit at all. I don't think that he should be playing for this team and this scheme at all. Those feet, they just got cinder blocks, glued to them. Like, you better not go swimming. You're going to sink. Like, it's not there. So Isaiah Prince, much more athletic, whatever else. But again, he's just getting snaps at right tackle. It's Spencer Burford, left tackle, Austin Pleasance, and then Isaiah Prince at right tackle. And now the only other option is if somebody gets cut or waived on the 53-man cut down, and then you swipe them, but they will have had no time in the system. So now you're hoping, you're casting a prayer, but I hate to say it, ladies and gents, it's going to be Spencer Burford, whether you like it or not. Like, it's just the way the 49ers do business. And especially, like you heard Kyle Shanahan on Sirius yesterday, man, we can't spend. We're not going to spend. We're going to roll that. Like, younger and cheaper is the motto. Don't expect it to change. So for everybody that's out there talking Gabe Davis or Amari Cooper or Odell Beckham Jr., no, like, that's not happening. They're signing Malik Turner. That's what you're getting. And it's going to continue to be that way. Now, you get into the season, and let's say you jump out to a 4-1 start or a 5-2 start, and you get closer to that trading deadline, then you can kind of push your chips in. But it ain't going to be right now. It's going to be a wait-and-see, cheap approach, bargain bin shopping that has permeated this entire offseason. Do not expect it to change. Did you have any thoughts on Isaiah Prince?
Yeah, it's interesting. I thought he was playing tall. That was one of the things I noticed right away. Is I thought, man, this guy is supposed to be hyper athletic, but he's playing a little bit taller than I would like, and so I wanted him to kind of get down. He didn't look as flexible as I liked him playing at right tackle. I didn't think it was extremely good. I didn't think it was really bad. I kind of thought it was, right there in the middle, kind of, him versus, like you said, the threes. It wasn't like a overwhelming performance where I wanted to see more from him. So let's see. Maybe he's not quite in shape since he got to camp late. Maybe he'll round into form over the next couple of weeks, and we can start talking about him as a viable option to compete with Austin Pleasance. But I think right now it's scary to say, but I think it's more likely the 49ers keep more interior offensive linemen with the thought process of, we'll just let Austin Pleasance and those guys go. Maybe we'll sign one to the practice squad, and we'll keep Connor Kobe, and we'll keep those guys on the inside. And in case of an emergency, Nick Zakel, guys like Ben Bartz, all those guys have played offensive tackle at some point in their career. They did it with Burford last year. You just kick them out in an emergency, try to get through the game and figure things out. I think that's a real possibility with how this offensive line is currently constructed.
Yeah. And, JP says, why do we sign players with injuries already? You're talking about Andre Dillard. You wanted cheap. And so you're going for, hey, maybe he could take these 2 months off. He can get better. We're going to pay super cheap price, which they did. But you get what you pay for. You get what you pay for. They were like, look, it's now or never. You got to get out there and practice, or we're going to move on. He got out there and practice, couldn't do it. Body didn't respond. It's kind of the way you get. If you want to be cheap, that's what you're going to get. And yeah, or you could have had TJ Humphries for $3 million. Instead, you got Andre Dillard for $1 million. The difference is $2 million, and that's why you don't have a swing tackle. Like, that's what it is. You chose not to pay, and he's going to be starting for the Rams. He's going to be their starting right tackle. Like you could have had him. The same thing happened the year before with Kendricks, the linebacker, and he chose to go to Dallas and be the starter, and didn't have to worry about when Dre Greenlaw returned or whatever else. And, this is not the first time that this has happened. Now, I want to talk about something that just happened. And again, CJ West's knee buckled today at practice, joint practice today with the Raiders in 101s. Matt Mayoko, and it's been verified through several other Raiders beat reporters and 49ers beat reporters. Now, he was able to get up and walk off gingerly under his own and went and, he's been dealing with the trainers. Obviously, there's no news here, but this tumultuous training camp offseason of injuries just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. The Indian burial ground that the 49ers practice on, it follows them all the way to Las Vegas somehow. Like, it is just absolutely horrifying. What are your thoughts on all these? And again, it's not only CJ West. You've got Nick Bosa's not practicing because of soreness. Like, what is that? Is he injured? Or are they, doing another Christian McCaffrey thing that they did last year, where, oh, no, he's fine. He's good. He just needs more rest. And Ben Barch now is out with an elbow. I don't know what to do with all these injuries. It's almost comical at this point. I feel like I'm like in, a Larry David sitcom and there's a soundtrack playing and I'm like staring at the camera like, really? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the CJ West one's concerning. Anytime somebody goes down, and their knee buckles. And that's an interesting, thing to say, a statement, because usually when you hear buckles, you're thinking the worst. It's a ligament, it's something really bad. Now, the good news is he got up on his own power. He wasn't carted off. This is a guy who's walking. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not something structural. But what it could mean is that he did like Mikael Williams. He hyperextended it, or he lost, his footing or something, and it just twisted the wrong way. But these are real risks when you're playing football. Like these ones in contact, right? He's doing a one-on-one drill. Like things happen. I think that's less concerning than some of the other ones that happen. Jacob Cowing just going through warm-ups, on air, and he just gets an injury. Like those ones are a little bit more frustrating, I think, for most. Now, when it comes to Nick Bosa, I'm not entirely surprised because I think with Bosa, it kind of comes down to I'm going to do joint practices if I'm not playing in the game. And so my guess is we'll probably see Nick Bosa for a few snaps in the game. So they're probably like, all right, you're going to rest. We're going to make sure you're ready to go. They have been very much paying attention to certain guys, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, and, George Kittle, Trent Williams, Christian McCaffrey, Kyle Juszczyk. They are making sure that these guys are staying healthy. So it doesn't surprise me too much, especially with how Nick Bosa has taken a little bit of time off training camp the last couple of years. But soreness is a real thing that you need to pay attention to because if you push through too much soreness, you can have something come up. So I think some of it's Bosa, but we'll see. The injuries are definitely concerning. I mean, the 49ers just had a ton of injuries, and it's actually around the league. I don't want to bail the 49ers out, but the Chargers are dealing with crazy injuries. The Bills have a lot of injuries. It's a lot. Like a lot of guys are getting hurt. And the 49ers, it's because the 49ers have been consistently one of the most injured teams that keeps them highlighted. But it is another year just marred by injury.
It's rough, man. Whether it's the training staff, there was a picture out there. I took a picture of the joint practices Broncos versus 49ers. And like I talked about how, man, the Broncos did a full team stretch for a full team period, static stretching, sit there, stretch your hamstring like together. Niners have never done that. And I got tagged maybe 20, 30 times today because the 49ers offensive line was doing some static stretching. Shout out to Raj for posting that clip. And everybody's like, see, they stretch, John, you're an idiot. And I'm just like, man, I count 6 people in that video doing the stretch. Like, I'm not saying they don't stretch. I'm saying at every training camp I've ever been to, I've never seen a team stretch, period. They do dynamic warm-ups, whatever else. It's just, I don't know what the answer is. I believe in dynamic warm-up before practice. I believe in static stretching afterwards. I understand that. I'm not saying that's why they're injured. I just thought it was interesting. Now, I do want to talk to you. Ben Barch, again, not playing. This guy has not been able to stay healthy. Kind of him and Isaac Guerindo's career path is similar. They've been injured every single year that they've ever played football. Now you've got Connor Colby taking reps with the ones. Nick Zakelj got demoted. I talked about this a little bit on yesterday's show, but Ant, I want to know your take. What is your overall feel on the guard rotational depth chart with Ben Barch healthy and Ben Barch out?
Yeah, I think with Ben Barch healthy, I think right now he's still the presumed starter. I think that Connor Colby's making a move, but I still believe that Nick Zakelj is ahead of him. I think that what they're doing right now was structurally, they wanted Nick Zakelj to get the second team right guard snaps because that's what he's going to do during the preseason game. Because I do expect them to play their first team offense. They wanted Connor Colby and Nick Zakelj to be that second unit with the guards. Now with Barch out, it's going to be interesting, and I think that Nick Zakelj could move back to left guard, or they could go and see what Connor Colby could do. This is a great opportunity for him to go out there in the Raiders game, and maybe the Raiders are going to play some of their ones and then get a look at what he can do against actual ones and not the 2s and 3s that he was playing against. So it's not a bad idea to take a look at it. I think if you ask them right now, Zakelj would be a little bit ahead. Now, where it gets interesting is if Ben Barch is going to be out, and Ben Barch is not going to be a guy that you can rely on at left guard, do you really want Nick Zakelj to be your starting left guard? This is what I brought up on the episode yesterday that I did, but I started talking about, John Feliciano is out there and he's saying he wants to come back. And he said when John and Kyle feel like they've got the 53-man roster figured out, they can call him. And I think that is a realistic option if Ben Bartch is not going to be your starting guard, that you do call John Feliciano. The only way you call him is if you want him to be a starting guard. I don't personally believe that Connor Kobe is ready to be a starting left guard in the NFL. I think that there's too much that he's still got to work at. I do believe he's a rotational NFL guard right now, and I think he could work into being a starter. But I worry about Nick Zakelj or Connor Kobe being our starting left guard, and I think that that's something that's going to play out over the next couple weeks. But I think we're hoping Ben Bartch comes back, but we're going to worry about the injury concerns all offseason.
Yeah, it's what do you do there? I mean, Feliciano was the guy you brought back last year on a 1-year deal and basically did the Andre Dillard injured. You finally give him a chance. Body doesn't respond. He has to retire. Now he's like, all right, bring me back. I'm not so sure I want to do that personally, but it's a nice break glass in case of emergency if that's there. We talked Connor Colby and you said you don't think he's ready for starting role. And I don't think Drew Moss is in this conversation either, but man, that tape was good. If you're, having to carry all these guards because of injuries, if for some reason you cut Drew Moss like you did last year with Jared Kingston, man, do you think that he will slip and be able to be brought back? Or do you think somebody claims him like Jared Kingston last year? What's your playbook for the roster management? You can't keep Zakelj. You can't keep, Bartch, Zakelj, Connor Colby, and Drew Moss. No team in the NFL is going to keep, plus Dominic Putin. No team keeps 5 guards. Somebody's going to be cut. So if you do cut Drew Moss, I'm not saying they should, but do you think that he makes it back on this Niners roster?
I think he is right now on the outside looking in. I think he's still a very developmental player. I think there was a lot to like from what we saw at the game. Especially in the run game, I thought that he was doing a very good job. I thought when it came to pass protection, there were certain times where it was a little shaky, and you could see that there were some struggles. And I think that was one of the things that the Carolina Panthers saw with Jared Kingston was he was a really good pass blocker. And some of these teams value pass blocking over run blocking. So it would take a certain roster. And remember, they have to carry Drew Moss on their 53-man roster if they claim him. So it'd be one of these bad football teams. It's always the possibility they could. They like taking guys from the 49ers because they're usually able to fit into most systems in the NFL, especially with Shanahan's system kind of infiltrating the entire NFL. So it's a possibility you can lose him, but I think it's more important to make sure you keep Connor Kobe. And I think with some of the question marks about, Ben Bartch, that's making it more difficult to say, we can move on from a Nick Zakelj because we have, a guy that's there ready to start. But now you have to be like, well, Nick Zakelj is a little bit better than Connor Kobe right now. He's still a better option to start. And I think that's tough when going with roster building. And how many offensive linemen are you going to be able to keep? 8? It's going to be tough. Now they might keep one less offensive tackle because of the injury to Andre Dillard. Maybe now they only keep Spencer Burford. But I still think it's tough to keep Moss because he also doesn't have any versatility to move outside to play tackle.
Yeah, maybe he could move inside to center, but man, you're kind of log jammed there with Jake Brindle. Matt Hennessy's look good, and Drake Nugent hasn't looked bad, but I don't think Drake Nugent has a chance to make the 53. That is a release to bring back to the practice squad, if anything. So I don't think that the 49ers have a lot of quality offensive linemen, but they do have a lot of young, aspiring interior offensive linemen that you want to keep and you want to protect. But at the tackle position, you haven't drafted a tackle or a center in 3 seasons, but you've drafted, 4 guards in, 2 years, 2 seasons. What are you going to do there? How do you handle that? One of the many problems, but one of the critiques is, they don't draft offensive linemen. They do draft guards. They just don't draft tackles. They don't draft centers. So yeah, we got to see what that is. And, this youth movement, thank you, JP. It's where the 49ers are. And you got to see how that goes. And I'm with you, Big Brick. Colby has the upside much more than Zakelj. You have Zakelj for 1 more year. 1 more year. Now, the problem is, who do you play week 1? You play the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle, who has Leonard Williams, Byron Murphy, first-round draft pick last year. They've got a ridiculous amount of force up front. You could wreck a game there. Zakelj, I would trust Zakelj much more in pass protection for damn sure. Ben Bartch is who I want to start, but if he can't stay healthy, him and Isaac Guerendo, I'm just very concerned on how much faith the 49ers are putting into guys like that are just consistently injured throughout their entire careers. Like, yeah, let's go to running backs real quick. Who is the running back to? Like, who do you? I guess it's Patrick Taylor Jr. Like, that's not good. That's not good right now. And so, like, what happens? God forbid CMC has something that happened like last year. What are you doing? How are you going to handle that? Patrick Taylor Jr., Jordan James is always hurt. Corey Kiner's probably your running back 3 right now. Isaac Guerendo, who knows? Jeff Wilson might be making the 53-man roster at this point.
It's always possible, right? I think that's part of the reason they brought Jeff Wilson Jr. in, is because now it's a realistic possibility that they may need him on the 53-man roster. And I think that's probably why they went Amir Abdullah before, was because Jeff Wilson Jr. wants to be able to make it 53. Now, I do believe with what we know about Isaac Guerendo's injury and that it's a contact shoulder thing, that he's going to be back for the regular season. He's got plenty of time to be ready. He'll be running back too, but it's a second year that he hasn't went through as much training camp as we would love for him to go through and get the preseason games under his belt. So that's something to remember. Now, when I was out at training camp watching him, he did look pretty good. I will be honest. I thought Isaac Guerendo looked pretty good and advanced from last year. With Jordan James, I liked him at training camp too, but you're right. He's dealt with a couple of injuries now, the broken finger, and he's going to be back as well. So I think it's going to be status quo when we go regular season. When we go week 1 versus Seattle, I think it's going to be McCaffrey, Isaac Guerendo, Jordan James, Patrick Taylor Jr., which means, are you keeping the extra guy in Corey Kiner? I think they'd like to. I don't think he can clear waivers. I think he would get Cody Schrader to get picked up. Yeah. Yep. So,
man, did you see how good he was, Cody Schrader, in that Rams preseason game?
Yeah, I didn't watch the Rams preseason game, but I heard it was good.
He looks so freaking good. They have a lot of running backs, and they all look really, really. Jarquez Hunter, the rookie, looks good. Blake Corum looked good. Like, they just signed Kyron Williams. Like, they're all healthy. They're all looking really, really good. But yeah, Cody Schrader, I was just like, the whole time, every time he busts a run, I was just like, dang it. That's what it is. Now, we had a super chat at the end of yesterday's show from my man, Matt Keller. We're going to talk Robert Saleh defense, what to expect even amidst all these injuries right after this. Your fantasy league pays bragging rights. My bookie pays cash. Gear up for another banger of a football season with a full-service sportsbook and casino in one. Whether you're firing off futures, betting the spread, spinning the slots late at night, everything runs through one account, one wallet, no switching apps. MyBookie has it all. Right now is the perfect time to get ahead of the curve with college football kicking off August 23rd. MyBookie's got national championship, Heisman odds already live. Lock in your picks early before the lines start moving. And if you're brand new, you get a little extra juice. Sign up with promo code 49ers, 49ERS, or scan this QR code next to me. Drop in $100. MyBookie adds $50 for free. Go bigger, get more for your money. The action's heating up, the odds are moving, and this season is shaping up to be a good one already. Don't miss it. Bet big, anytime, anywhere, and I mean anywhere, including California, with MyBookie. One of the biggest positives in that Broncos preseason game, the number 2 defense with maybe 1 or 2 starters out there for like a series, went against the Broncos starters. Their ones, Bo Nix, Cortland Sutton, Quentin Miners, all these guys, held them to -2 points on 3 drives, or 3 separate drives. Like, I was just flabbergasted what Robert Saleh was doing with spare parts. No offense. It was awesome. So my man, Matt Keller, yesterday had a super chat when we were signing off, and I didn't have time to see it. He said, what do you expect from Robert Saleh's defense this year as opposed to what we saw last year with Nick Sorensen, which was just busted coverage? We still had a busted coverage with Darrell Luter Jr. So let's start there. Do you think that the 49ers are going to continue with the kind of busted coverage or 2 a game? We had it versus the Broncos, where you had a wide open wide receiver in the end zone and literally made fun of the 49ers. He like shrugged his shoulders like, nobody's going to guard me. Like, there was nobody with 20. Do you think that that's going to continue? Was that just a Darrell Luter mistake? Where do you start with that? And then we'll keep going through Saleh's defense.
Yeah, I don't think that that's going to be an issue. I mean, when you look at who was out there, right, it was Darrell Luter Jr. and Chase Lucas. With Chase Lucas kind of coming on the field late, there was a little bit of a situation there where Nick Martin ran off late, Chase Lucas came on, and sometimes things like that happen. But I mean, Darrell Luter Jr. is let's make no mistake, he's a fringe NFL player at this point. I don't know if he's going to make this roster. Just hasn't been consistent. There's good moments, there's bad moments, and so I think that was more of who was out there compared to Robert Saleh letting this thing happen. I don't think Robert Saleh and Daniel Bullock are going to sit there and let there be any of these mistakes again. Saleh is on point, and they also got Gus Bradley as well to kind of help with that. So a lot of information. They're going to fix this, so I'm not concerned about the breakdowns in coverage.
Yeah, and the players literally were correcting Darrell Luter Jr. while the ball was in the air. You had, I think it was Tato Bethune, and I forget who the other player was, literally turned to him and go, "What are you doing?" while the ball was in the air. So that's what now the blitzes. That's one thing that we've already seen, whether at training camp or in that first preseason. Blitzes will be effective. Nick Sorensen was allergic to blitzing, and the only blitz he ever did was a nickel blitz that was completely telegraphed way before. You'd have freaking Devondre Campbell mirroring the man motion to signify man, then you'd walk up the nickel corner, and it was just like, what the hell are you doing, man? Given the answers to the test. So talk to me just about Robert Saleh's blitzing packages and what you've seen and what you expect as opposed to the most vanilla blitzing team in the NFL last year.
Yeah, I think they made a really strategic effort to go grab guys that are good at blitzing. I mean, Jason Pennick was the number one guy last year blitzing from the safety position. So you go get Jason Pennick, you draft Upton Stout, another really good blitzer. You get even the linebackers, right? D. Winters is a great blitzer. Then Nick Martin is also a guy that's going to be a good blitzer in the NFL once he figures out NFL football and NFL scheme. So you've got the right pieces for it because those are the guys who usually are going to bring pressure. What I love about Robert Saleh is it's not just the blitz, but he also has something else going on as well. He will have some sort of a line stunt or he'll figure something out. So his packages aren't vanilla, like you said. They're not telegraphed. They do a good job of disguising. He loves showing, these double-A blitzes and then bailing out. Sometimes somebody comes, sometimes they don't, and it could be somebody else coming. It's varied, and I think that's one of the easiest things. You don't want to let NFL quarterbacks, and most of them are going to figure it out anyway because they're just that good. But you want to have the offensive line guessing. You want to engage these running backs and tight ends who have to come up and help block and not be able to free release. And all these things give your defensive line time to win. And I think that's what Robert Saleh is going to do. So I love the approach, and I think we're going to get even more complicated blitzes as we move through, as these guys get kind of used to a system. And we all know it's preseason. You're not showing everything you've got in your arsenal, but I think there's going to be a lot, and I think they're going to be successful with the blitz as well.
Yeah, and the thing that will be prioritized by Robert Saleh is stopping the run, and you saw that in the first 4 draft picks, right? Mikael Williams, run stuffing D-end. Alfred Collins, run stuffing DT. Nick Martin, run stuffing linebacker. Upton Stout, run stuffing nickel. You look at free agency. That's what they did. And so they're going to stop the run with personnel, and then they're going to try to get creative on 3rd and long with blitz packages and whatever else, stunts, you name it, but they disguise it. And so that's huge. So you're getting an added benefit. The number one thing your job as a coach, and I would always tell my coaches this, you're supposed to give these guys an advantage. Give them the answers to the test so they know what's going to happen when they're out there, and they have a better chance of them winning with you calling plays and you coaching them. That is exactly what Robert Saleh does. And so to go from Nick Sorensen to Robert Saleh, I feel like is the biggest glow up on this roster from 2024 to 2025. We talk about injuries all the time, and yeah, the amount of injuries were rough last year. Well, guess what? They're already rough this year. It's going to continue. If you think the 49ers are no longer going to have more injuries this year, if you think that this story has a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention. It's going to continue, but can the coaching, the special teams, man, I probably had more fun breaking down the special teams all 22 than I did offense or defense because it was sound. The blocking on punts was sound. The blocking on punt, kickoff return was sound. The coverage lanes were like, it was just like, oh, this is what a well-coached team looks like. And I don't care that it's just the preseason. You're already starting to see the way it's supposed to look. And man, last year was just hopefully just an albatross that you can get rid of with quality coaching. And so that's what I want to see. So to Matt Keller, appreciate the super chat yesterday. I think you're going to see competency. I think you're going to see a lot less busted coverage, a lot less kind of telegraphed blitzes and schemes. And I mean, Nick Sorensen never once figured out how to stop bunch trips. He never once the entire season. It started week 2, Minnesota, and it went all the way through the entire damn season. That's what I want to see changed is, man, teams got to get creative to beat this Robert Saleh defense, and that's what I'm excited about. That's what I want to see. There's still going to be some frustrated times. There's still going to be some 3rd and longs given up, and there's still going to be a few busted coverages, but it's not going to be a weekly offense, a weekly just repetitive thing. So what is your overall expectation? Like 1 through 32, there's 32 teams in the NFL. Where is kind of your over-under expectation on where this 49ers defense will end up as far as just total defense? Like, do you see them as a top 5? Do you think 7 to 10? Like, where is the ant scale of where you think the 49ers defense will finish total defense 1 through 32? 1 being the best, 32 being the worst.
Yeah, I think, some of it depends on health. I mean, if you've got a healthy Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, a Bryce Huff, I do think he's going to be very important for this team. Mikael Williams, I think that they could be somewhere in that 12 to 15 range. I think they can make a big jump. And, and depending on how they're able to stop the run on early downs, that could influence what happens on 3rd down getting off the field. But I think some of it is also going to be determined by Kyle Shanahan and this offense. If they're able to move the ball, if they're able to shorten the game, that's going to make it a lot easier on this defense as well. So I think it's one of those complementary football things, field position, all those things are going to put the 49ers defense in certain situations to be successful, less turnovers, all that stuff plays into it. So I think 12 to 15, I think Robert Saleh makes an instant impact in how they play. But I think there's still some question marks that need to get answered. There's some young players that need to prove that they're ready to go, whether it's a rotational piece or in Mikael Williams' situation, a starter. I think that there's still questions, but I do like this defense, and I think Saleh is going to have an impact on it. And 12 to 15 might be good enough, depending on what the 49ers offense does, to win a lot of football games.
Yeah, I think the top 5 is a little far-reaching with how much youth you have. That you are expecting to contribute, but I don't see an issue with kind of that 7 to 12. Look at Kawachipto as soon as I said it. That 7, that's my burner account, I swear, except if I was smarter, I would have Kawachipto's takes. That dude knows what he's talking about. But that's kind of where, like, better than average, slightly above average, and consistent. And knowing who your identity is, that's where I'm just like, yes. And, one of the things about a Robert Saleh defense is they always get turnovers. And so you're hoping that continues. And yeah, top 12, that's where I want it to be as well. Now, real quick, sorry, JP, I saw this earlier. When are you going to do your show so that we can bet with you, Jod? Yeah, so what we do is I post my bets every single week, week in, week out on our Patreon and on the 49ersrush.com. That is available on there, that Jerry Rice tearing up. Always tease 1 or 2 bets, but I will do a full season-long betting special after the initial 53. So those 2 weeks, when the preseason's over, they do the 53 cut-down roster. They make the practice squads. I usually wait till right after that so I can kind of analyze the 49ers roster and their opponents and whatever else. And then I post all those bets. I'll tease a couple on here for free. But if you want to bet with us, that's going to be on our Patreon channel. And look, I also want to say this. And in the 49ers Cutback, when you guys arrived on the scene, you guys have come a long way, man. It used to be you and your buddy who was always up there, and I freaking love that dude. But now it's Ant, and man, your Patreon. Can you talk for a second, just real quick, where they can find it, what you're working on, what's going on there, because we got to support 49ers Cutback. It's too damn good a channel, and you're going to learn too damn much stuff if you watch it.
Yeah, 49ers Cutback on Patreon. It's 49ers Cutback /Patreon. And right now I'm doing all the film breakdowns, and I found myself going too deep a little bit, John. I got into full coach mode where I'm like evaluating too many of the players all at once. And so I looked up after the first video, and I think I made it through like 2 drives, and it's like, oh my gosh, I've been breaking down every single player. but that's how I kind of do it. I get real in depth on who those guys are. And then I'm going to be ramping up some of my standalone shows. I've been putting a little bit on there as well, so you can get standalone shows. I have another one that I do with somebody else that I bring on, and we do a show, especially during the season, and that's going to start ramping up again. So plenty of stuff on Patreon. And like always, if you have requests, you want to see certain stuff, you can hit me up on Patreon, and I'll make sure that I get to it and put it out for you.
A man of the people. I love it. Now, I got a question from my man, James K. He emailed me, and he says, hey, Chris Forster, the offensive line coach, is it telling that Forster hasn't really developed anyone as an offensive line coach? I talked yesterday about only rookies have started week 1 for the 49ers. You had Dominique Pooney and Spencer Burford. But so the question I want to pose to you, who do you attribute? I have 2 guys that Chris Forster has quote unquote developed and increased their ability from start to finish with them. Does anybody come to mind to you that Chris Forster has developed into a quality offensive lineman?
Yeah, I think there's a couple. I think Jalen Moore is probably one of the biggest ones. I mean, he just went out and got a big contract. He's not doing a lot for the 49ers. I think another one is Colton McKivitz. I mean, Colton McKivitz, when Chris Forster first took over for John Benton, McKivitz got cut. A lot of people forget he went to the practice squad and they made him earn it. And when he got back, they've developed him into a player. So I think that those are a couple. I think you could take a look, and I know we're not huge fans of Jake Brendel, but Jake Brendel's become a competent NFL player. And that was a Chris Forster develop. I think he has developed, several players and helped increase. You could probably throw Aaron Banks into that as well. Because when Banks is healthy, Banks does pretty good. And if you go watch Banks as a rookie, there was a long way to go, a long way. And by the next year, he was a lot better. So I think there are a few guys you can find that Chris Forster has definitely enhanced their abilities and helped them become better NFL players. At what level, I don't know, but he's definitely helped these guys a little bit.
Yeah. The 2 names that came to my mind as these are who have been developed, Colton McKivitz and Laken Tomlinson. Those 2 guys, with where they were to where they are. I think Chris Forster's a damn good coach. I think he's a little too loyal with friendships, and I love coaches that build friendships with players, but I think that it could be a negative if that halts your evaluation process, which is like a Shanahan staple. If you're a Shanahan guy, he don't care if you suck. And I think Chris Forster is like that too. There should be competition at center right now, but the fact of how much they love Jake Brendel, who's a locker room standout, Iron Man, smart as hell, great dude, but the play doesn't match it. There should be competition. And what were your thoughts on Matt Hennessy? Because I watched a lot of Matt Hennessy play in that Broncos game. I thought he was decent for sure. I don't think that he was as dominant as Connor Colby or Drew Moss, but it was man, this is some quality center play, competent center play. Gave me a lot of confidence in Matt Hennessy.
Yeah, I mean, we probably should put him in the mix, to make this football team, because you want a center guard combo, and Matt Hennessy can do that. I think my biggest question marks for him are the second level blocking. I think he does a really good job at the point of attack. He gets more movement than Jake Brendel does. But what's he going to do when he gets to the second level? I thought that there was a little inconsistencies, but he's also got to find his marks. He's got to find his landmarks. He's got to get there. And there's a lot to figure out. So maybe it's going to improve, but I think he's in the mix to make this team, because you need a versatile interior offensive lineman. It's got to be Nick Zakelj, or it's got to be Matt Hennessy, because you need a backup center / guard. And that's what kind of helps these guys with their opportunities to make this roster.
Yeah. Well said. And just real quick before we move on from interior offensive line talk, could Moss potentially develop into a solid center, in your opinion? Do you think guard or center is Drew Moss's kind of best position to be at?
I think he can play either one physically. My question marks would be for him playing center is, how is he when it comes to the knowledge of the game, right? The mental part of it, because that's one of the big parts of playing center, is understanding where blitzes are coming from, being able to move protections. There's a lot of that when it comes to playing center. So if he's able to do that, one of the reasons we love Nick Zakelj was how intelligent he was coming out of Fordham. That's one of the things that if Moss has got it mentally, and we don't have the insight on whether he does football-wise, that will play a determining factor if he could play center. But physically, he's definitely got the tools to be able to do it.
Yeah, he looked good, man. He looked really, really good, if I'm going to be honest. Like, it's just that anchor ability is what stands out. Whenever you can kind of go out there and just deny bigger players consistently, and you get that anchor step in and all that stuff, it's just, it just looks right. And, being 6'3", 300 pounds, kind of that shorter guy, usually those are your centers, especially with Brock Purdy being a shorter guy, whatever else. I think that it's a possibility. Now, what I want to transfer to now, and I'm pretty excited about this, I want to talk 49ers Raiders. What are your expectations for the joint practice that's going on now? We've got a couple updates out there. Again, if you just joined the show, CJ West had his knee buckle in 101s. He went to the training temp, walked off on his own. No new updates there. But what is it that you want to see from the starters? Who do you want to see play? Who do you think won't play? All those things right after this. Hey, Niner faithful. If you're looking for tickets to see the 49ers play this season, TickPick is the destination for the best deals you'll find on tickets with absolutely no hidden fees. TickPick guarantees the best price on tickets to every NFL game and beyond. Download the TickPick app and use code NINERS, NINERS, at checkout to save $10 on your first order. Again, that's code NINERS. Get your tickets ready today to cheer on the team with the rest of the 49ers Rush community, and all of our events for the 49ers Rush road trip are sold exclusively on the TickPick app or tickpick.com. Just search 49ers Rush. All right, the 49ers are practicing currently in Las Vegas with the Raiders. You're getting some snippets of, supposedly Upton Stout laid out Brock Bowers, Fred Warner's Fred Warner. Jeff Wilson had a big run today in team. Lots of different, Aston Genty had a huge run today in team as well. But what are your expectations in this week 2 preseason game? Do you think that the 49ers are going to finally play all their starters? Last year, they had about 11 snaps for Brock Purdy and most of the starters. What are your thoughts on the usage in this preseason game that's going to happen Saturday?
Yeah, I think that's what you're looking at. Is probably low snap number for most starters. I wouldn't say all starters. I still don't know if we'll ever see Trent Williams or Christian McCaffrey in a preseason game, and I can't argue that those guys should play in a preseason game because I think it's meaningless for veterans at their stage in their career. But I do think it's important for Brock Purdy to get out there, throw the football a little bit to Demarcus Robinson, maybe get Ricky Pearsall some action with him as well. So I think we're going to see starters on offense. I think we will see some of the starters on defense, and I'm just super hyped about Upton Stout. I have wanted to see Upton Stout since I got to see him at training camp, and he was just flying around. And I'll tell you, I watched that, the build on YouTube, the 49ers put out yesterday, and it didn't curtail any of me wanting to see Upton Stout. Like, I just want to see him more now. He's just got that energy. He's got that juice. And he's already out there, messing with Brock Bowers, making him not be able to get off the line, creating an interception for the safety. I just think that Upton Stout's going to be a fun one to watch. And it is very important that we see guys like Upton Stout, Marquis Siegel, Jason Pennick develop. Because if these guys are ready to roll, that makes this 49ers defense more formidable. And that's what the 49ers need. That front is going to be pretty good, I think, with the pass rush on the edge with Nick Bosa, Bryce Huff, and those guys. But having that back end is going to be very important. And Upton Stout's a big reason why it could be really good.
Yeah, I do have some confidence in the defensive end room, but with what you're looking at right now, Nick Bosa is not practicing soreness. We'll see if he plays. Hopefully he does play. Eter Gross-Matos, not back. Sam O, not out there. Robert Beal, not out there. You just released Bradley and You brought in 2 more defensive ends off the street. Like, I don't want to give a pass to the defense and what's about to happen with the preseason game, but there's going to be some big runs from the Raiders because you're just out defensive linemen, defensive ends. Like, the injuries, the biggest problem with the 49ers isn't the amount of injuries, which are ample. Don't get me wrong. It's that they're stacked all at the same damn position. It's all your running backs. It's all your wide receivers. It's all your defensive ends. It's all your defensive tackles. It's all your corners. The other positions are relatively okay. Like the linebacker room, I have more confidence in the linebacker room than almost anything. Like, somebody asked me yesterday on the show, Ant, who are the 3 guys that we cannot afford to miss? And initially I was like, okay, well, Brock Purdy, obviously, Fred Warner, obviously. But then I was like, no, wait a second. Mac Jones has looked really damn good. Not that Mac Jones is better than Brock Purdy, but that drop-off isn't near as drastic as several other positions. And I was like, well, Fred Warner. And I was like, well, actually, you know what? Tatum Bethune playing Mike looked phenomenal. He looks so damn good. Luke Gifford looks incredible. D. Winters looks great. Stone Blanton's playing not saying that, we couldn't, a Fred Warner injury is a good thing. That's not what I'm saying at all. He's the best linebacker in football. But the drop-off, you have quality depth behind them. But then you get to Nick Bosa, you don't have the quality depth behind him. You get to the, wide receivers, obviously not. You get to the corners and Diamador Lenore, no. You look at Trent Williams, no. There's several positions on this team where quality depth is not established. And that is a major concern. Pinching pennies in the offseason, this is kind of what you get. But let me tee that up for you. Who are the 1 or 2 guys that if they get injured, the Niners do not have an answer for on this roster currently?
I think George Kittle stands out huge with how much he's going to be dependent on early on in the season, especially with Brandon Ayuk out, the Demarcus Robinson suspension. Who knows what's going to happen with Jawan Jennings? I expect Jennings to be ready, but that's a little bit of just looking ahead. I think that George Kittle, the drop off as far as receiving tight end, I think that Luke Farrell will do a good job blocking. I don't have too many worries about that, but Kittle's influence on this offense and really his chemistry that he's developed with Brock Purdy. I mean, I don't think we've seen a quarterback go to George Kittle this much in training camp since Jimmy G, when those guys were kind of having their little, love thing going on where he just found him. And, Kittle's going to be a big part of this offense. And this offense is going to move through Kittle and McCaffrey early in this season. So I think that one would be huge for the 49ers to potentially lose. And then I think after that, it gets a little bit more complex. I think that I would worry about Fred Warner. And I do agree with you that the linebackers there are definitely a lot better than they were last year. When you look at the depth, you look at the starters, there's more depth. I think we got 4 very solid linebackers and then a guy like Nick Martin who's going to try to emerge. And then the question mark is who's the last guy, but a lot of depth. The reason I say Fred is energy-wise. Fred Warner has been the one that has kept this defense motivated and energized even when Dre Greenlaw was out. And so I do think they have other guys, Lenore and Upton Stout, and those guys who can kind of do that a little bit, but Hufanga's gone, and he could kind of carry that load a little bit. So I just think they need Fred. I think there's a stabilizing force to having Fred in the middle, kind of putting everyone in the right spot. So Kittle and Fred are the 2 I definitely worry about the most.
Yeah, and, Luke Farrell didn't play a lot in the Broncos, but he didn't play well. And so I thought that he's been great in training camp. And I think that the way in which the 49ers are going to kind of mitigate that early season, lack of wide receivers, if Juwan can play or not, if Demarcus Robinson gets suspended or not, if golly, the injuries of the wide. But the way you mitigate that is 12 and 21 personnel. Like Kyle Juszczyk, once he gets fully back, he's going to be out there a lot with a lot of CMC. So 2 backs, 1 tight end, or 1 back and 2 tight ends with Luke Farrell. That way you only have 2 wide receivers. And if your 2 wide receivers are Ricky Pearsall and Jawan Jennings or Demarcus Robinson, that's okay. I don't have a problem with that. The thing that I do have a problem with, Ant, is if Demarcus Robinson gets suspended for the first 3 games and doesn't get the Chiefs' treatment of Rashee Rice, and Jawan Jennings doesn't play week 1, which I think he will, but man, if it's Ricky Pearsall with no Jennings, no Demarcus Robinson, no Ayuk, Jordan Watkins is going to be coming off not practicing for a month. Like, I don't want Ricky Pearsall and freaking Russell Gage, who's had another good day, according to, Twitter reports out there at practice. Like, that's great. I'm happy for Russell Gage. I don't think that he's a starting wide receiver week 1, but that's kind of stuck where you're at.
Yeah, I think Russell Gage is a nice rotational piece. I think if he was wide receiver 4 or 5, you're feeling pretty good because he's a vet that understands leverage. He understands route running. He's going to be in the right place at the right time. You look at the preseason game, Carter Bradley's interception that he threw that got picked by the linebacker. Russell Gage is open. It's just a ball that's too flat. It's not a layered throw, not exactly where it should go. Take a little bit of juice off, and it's a good throw for Carter Bradley. It's a good read, and part of it's because Russell Gage presents himself as a solid wide receiver who gets open and is in the right spots at the right times. We love that about him, but you worry about the dynamics too, right? The thing that we love about the 49ers wide receivers is Jauan Jennings has big play potential. Ricky Pearsall has big play potential. Russell Gage doesn't have big play potential. He has, I'm going to catch the ball, I'm going to convert, I'm going to get a first down, or I'm going to get 6 yards. That's what he does. So you kind of lose some of that big play potential that has been huge for this 49ers offense, whether it was Brandon Ayuk or Deebo Samuel or Jauan Jennings. That's what kind of made it special, that yak ability. And Brock is still built to do that in this timing offense. So I think you lose a little bit of that aspect. And Jordan Watkins' injury kind of plays into that, because I think Kyle Shanahan was pretty honest with him missing. He's not going to develop enough to be ready to produce for the 49ers early on in the season now. It's going to stunt his growth. And I think that's a little bit frustrating, because he was definitely coming on and showing that he had the potential to be a guy that could make some plays for the 49ers when Brandon Ayuk was out.
Yeah, man, I hope it happens. And Lee says Jennings plays hurt with no new contract. He's got a pretty significant roster bonus. So if he does sit out, like, he takes a couple $100,000 pay cut each game, which is significant. He's made $10 million in his career. Not saying that's nothing, but it's not like he's one of these high paid free agents. He was a 7th round pick that got cut, did the RFA thing for a few years. Like, he's getting paid ample money on the extension that he already signed. I do expect him to play. You know, he posted the pic of getting treatment on his calf today for whatever reason. Like, I think he's trying to say, like, look, I obviously was hurt, but do you expect he suits up week 1? Jauan Jennings? Does he play week 1? I think
so. I mean, he was dealing with the calf last year. You know, I mean, he missed a ton of training camp last year. Just wasn't highlighted by all of us as much because everyone was focused on Brandon Ayuk, you know, and all the situation going on there. And we just expect Jauan, he's just that guy, right? He's going to show up, he's going to play, and he's that guy. So I think that as long as he's going to be ready week 1, and I think he's going to be, I don't really have a concern about Jauan Jennings. And I don't think this is a contract thing. Maybe there's a little bit to that. But, you know, when it comes to week 1, he's going to want those roster bonuses. He's going to want to suit up and get paid. I don't think he's going to do anything to hurt his football team.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And I just hope that's the case, because that's the thing. Like, you need Jauan Jennings early more than at any point the rest of the year. You need DeMarcus Robinson early more than at any point the rest of the year. And then you look at who you're playing in the Seattle Seahawks. Their strength of their team is their secondary. Like, that's how they've built their team on the back end forward. They literally hired one of the best secondary coaches as their head coach, and McDonald. Like, we need wide receivers, man, and they just cannot stay healthy. Hopefully Jacob Cowing gets a solid month practice, you know, quality practice in, and can ramp up into that possible number 2 spot. He had the great offseason, all that stuff. But goodness. That is something that, you got to win that game. One of the most important games of the season on the entire slate, all 17 games. That's the second most important game, in my opinion, that away game at Seattle week 1. You got to win that. Bobo, my man, Matt Breida, we're over here talking undrafted free agents, announced his retirement today. I remember watching, I think it was the Matt Breida, Joe Williams training camp. And it was like the first day of training camp, and Joe Williams is pushing people ahead of him in the running back drills at practice because he didn't want to go. And Matt Breida is like fighting to get up there. And I was like, dude, I was a big Georgia Southern guy. I got offered to play there. I don't think I've ever told this story on here. But I'm a big Georgia Southern guy. I got family in Georgia, whatever else. And so, like, I knew who he was. And, you know, you had Jerick McKinnon before him. They ran the triple option. Matt Breida was a beast and all that stuff. And I was like, dude, Matt Breida's making this roster. And he did, sure enough. Joe Williams never got one carry despite being a 4th-round pick. But that dude didn't want to be here. I just – could you imagine – like seeing a guy you drafted the 4th-round rookie pushing people in front of him in the running back just rotational drills? Like, dude, I don't want to go. I didn't want to be here. Anyway, so congrats to Matt Breida and his awesome 7-year career. I absolutely love it. Guys like that those are the stories that I think are awesome because didn't have much of a chance, lands in the perfect place, contributes mightily, got some fumble issues, some injury issues, but 7 years for an undrafted free agent. The average NFL season, I think, is 1.2 years or seasons. So 7 is awesome. Any Matt Breida shout outs or memory, Ant?
Yeah, I remember him breaking the big run against the Cleveland Browns in 2019 and waving, hey, I'm gone. And I think that was like we're on the scene. That was an upstart 49ers who were coming off a 2018 team that wasn't very good. And it was kind of a signal. No, here we are. And it was a great run too. A little stop, jump, and then gone. And it really kickstarted that season and what it became. Of course, Raheem Mostert was the speed guy that finished it off that season, but I loved Matt Breida. I thought that he was a very important part of some of those 49ers team, and I think he really got things jump-started in the outside zone, and the dynamic ability of the 49ers run game was started by him. And, I've always kind of rooted for him no matter what team he's been on. I think he's a good guy. I was excited when he came back last year for a little bit just for nostalgia reasons. And so, yeah, I wish him, a great retirement. And I think he had a good career and overcame. I mean, this is a guy that shouldn't have lasted this long, but he did. And it's a testament to his work ethic and just being a good football player.
Yeah. And, one more thing that I want to talk about just with the 49ers and Raiders preseason and joint practice, which are happening now. You had the Ravens cancel their joint practices today. Like, they canceled them. The 49ers canceled them last year because of all the injuries. Well, they're more injured now than they were last year. They still went through with it, which is good news. Do not expect, I don't know how to say this. Do not expect a 49ers W on the box score. They just don't have the numbers to where you're going to have a lot of 4s playing a full half of football against the Raiders 2s and 3s. The Niners are surviving, all right? Survive. I just think about Tropic Thunder with Robert Downey Jr. Like, what do we do? Survive. Like, that's all you're trying to do. And so can you get through this with the fewest amount of injuries? And again, CJ West left practice early after his knee buckled in one-on-ones. Have not heard any news on that. We'll have to see. Probably going to take a full day, but you're hoping the best case is like a week to 2 weeks. You're hoping nothing, but yeah, there's no news. 49ers are still currently practicing, and there's not going to be news. Like, you could do the ACL check. So like when a player gets injured, I could see them do the ACL check on the broadcast, or if I'm at the game, which I am a lot of times, and I'm like, I'm asking anybody with binoculars, once you see them lift that knee and see if there's any tension, you'll see the guy doing the ACL check do this. If you see that side to side, it's over. Like, that ACL is gone. I don't think that that's the case here with, CJ West. I don't know anything about it, but whenever I'm at the games, I just like, I hone in and I'm just like, are we getting the negative shake? But you'll see the guy just be like, mm-mm. And then it's just like, yeah, that sucks. That player's done. But anyway, they are dropping like flies. Hopefully they survive. And before we wrap it up, I got one more announcement. Anything else that we have missed today or that you feel is important for us fans to know about this 49ers Raiders weekend?
I think the main thing is it's all about evaluation for the coaching staff. They're just wanting to look at players. And so when you see the score and things like that and who's playing, it's all about evaluation. That's what they look at. They don't care if they win preseason games. If they do, great. If they don't, that's okay too. So just remember that. And these guys are competing. These guys are practicing. They're going to make mistakes, especially young players. But let's see who got better from last week. And that's what it's about. It's about stacking reps. It's about getting a little bit better every single week. And that's what I'm kind of the most excited about, is see which guys got a little bit better and maybe getting a taste of some of the guys we didn't get to see. Maybe an Upton Stout, a couple of those other guys. I think it's going to be a fun weekend.
Oh, I'm excited. I fly out tomorrow morning, so I'll be out in Vegas. I want to see the game. You know me, I love some Vegas and some blackjack and pool parties. I can't help it. It's what it is. So, yeah, I'll be out there. So if you're out there in Vegas, just hit me up, and man, maybe we can meet up for a drink or whatever else. And look at Raj. He's over here, week 1, pumped for Frank Gore. That is right. We're going to have Frank Gore out week 1 at Seattle, which I am just so excited about. Seattle has been screwed over with nothing but Thursday games 3 years in a row. So the 49ers Rush road trip is going to be up there in Seattle, having a great time. Frank Gore's going to come party with us, and we've got the awesome tailgate. It's the whole weekend. We got you. We'll be at the press box, which is 1 block south of the stadium. We'll tailgate together, premium tailgate, unlimited drinks, food, seltzers, beer, premium alcohol. This is a premium tailgate. And then we do a stadium walk together. We'll be giving away, I think I have 22 jerseys autographed to give away for competitions, trivia. Kids are always free. I'm putting together, this is what my life is now, Ant. I'm putting together 49ers coloring books for the kiddos that come to our events so that they got something to do while we are there. And I also saw the comment right here. Yeah, New Orleans, baby. We are going to be out in New Orleans as well, week 2. We're on Bourbon Street. We're going to be at the Drinkery on Bourbon Street Saturday, the day before the game. And then our tailgate, the most I have ever spent on a tailgate in my life. It is my birthday, and we're going to be out there. We have a seafood station, unlimited drinks, unlimited everything. Oh, I cannot wait, man. It's going to be great. So the 49ers Rush road trip this year is going to be in full effect. All you got to do is go to the TickPick app, and whenever you're there, search 49ers Rush. All of it pulls up, or it's in the link in the description or audio of, wherever you're watching or listening this. We're going to be at all of the games, the away games. Every single one of them this year, we will be there hosting events so that if you go to any away games this year, you are not by yourself. You are partying with the faithful and having a great damn time. I cannot wait. It's going to be a blast. And thank you so much for your time, your expertise, and thank you for not having all the stupid hot takes and just being a man of the people and helping us learn about football. You are the man. Go catch 49ers Cutback wherever you can. And for us, that's going to do it. And until next time, stay strong, faithful.